everybody. This is John from BestPriceNutrition.com. Today I'm here to answer your questions about Moringa Oleifera, which was spoken about today on The View. And as a result, we've had a lot of questions about it. People, hey, what is this? So we wanted to answer all your guys' questions. So what we did was we did some research just to, double check everything and let you guys know what it does, how it works, and what the actual evidence says. And specifically, it's known in Africa as the miracle tree because it is a rich source of a lot of vitamins, antioxidants, minerals, and amino acids. And over there, oftentimes it's purportedly used for somebody who's suffering from malnutrition because it is a source of all these nutrients. Obviously, you always have to ask compared to what when we're talking about that, like what other foods maybe also are sources of that. But specifically why it's in a supplement form, people are wondering because nobody here necessarily is lacking any of that stuff in terms of a food per se. So why take it in a capsule? Well, the idea is that it's going to help control blood sugar and high cholesterol. Those are the purported effects. And so what we did is went and looked at the research and be able to narrow it down to which studies kind of tested for these things. And collectively, we were able to find 5 studies that actually did look at these things. 3 of them were done on animals, so not that there's anything wrong with that, but if we have human evidence, that's always going to be best. And it's always best to put it in context when you're talking about animals, because a rat, for instance, is not a human, obviously, because there's going to be some variables there that one has to adjust for. So we were able to find a couple human studies. The one downside is that they were not randomized or double blind. So just something to consider. But first relevant human study we found was actually done for 40 days. It was with type 2 diabetic patients because, as we said, one of the purported effects is that it's going to help lower blood sugar specifically. It's got a strong hypoglycemic effect. So, and people who have type 2 diabetes have trouble regulating their blood sugar. So they took these patients, they were 30 to 60 years old. They took 46 subjects, and 9 of them served as the control. And they tracked their meals and nutrients and so on and so forth. And what they gave them was a daily dose of 8 grams a day of the Moringa Oleifera. It kind of makes me want to use a Spanish accent when I say it, even though okay. Anyways, I digress. The point is they were able to significantly reduce their blood sugar levels relative to the control. So it does seem to have that effect on blood sugar. In this specific one, and the next one I'm actually going to talk about, they didn't get into the cholesterol levels. They weren't really testing that. They were specifically looking at blood sugar control. Now the next one's a little bit more interesting because they were actually using HbA1c. Which is a longer term, and it's a much more reliable marker when you're looking at somebody's blood sugar because it looks at sugars that are left in the blood that can glycate, and that's when sugars can really become a problem. When they combine with polyunsaturated fats, when they hang around in the blood and they glycate, they can break down tissue, and you can get necrosis, and ultimately leading to apoptosis and things like that. Be it planned or unplanned cell death. It would be the difference there. Necrosis being unplanned cell death, and so that's why it's really, really important to control your blood sugar. We know through all the research and more that's coming out that, being able to regulate your blood sugar is a really important marker. So, and that's going to play into, who this is going to benefit best from. So the next study basically took 60, also type 2 diabetic patients. They were between 40 and 58 years of age, and they were all on a standardized calorie-restricted diet. Now, in this case, the dose, they were given 2 tablets a day. They didn't say the exact dose in the tablets, so we'll speculate a little bit. It wasn't near the 8 grams because you couldn't swallow 8 grams of this particular ingredient, the moringa, within 2 tablets. It's just not feasible. So basically what they did is they measured the blood glycated hemoglobin, or as for short as we know it as, and most of you will know it as, those of you who get this tested, would be your HbA1c levels. And if you don't get those tested by your doctor and you are pre-diabetic, it is something that you should have done because, like I said, it's a much better marker. But specifically what they found was that after 30 days of treatment over the control group, they found a 9% decrease in HbA1c. After 60 days, 17%, and after 90 days, 29%. So that's pretty significant in terms of being able to help with lowering your blood sugar. And as we noted, that's a really, really good thing, especially for this particular population. Overall, would like to see some randomized, double-blind, controlled studies to really hone in on this effect to see, because there is some really good promise here based on this research. Now the question is, who can take it? Now, if you're just a regular, everyday person, and maybe you're pre-diabetic and you've got some type 2 diabetes, then you may be able to really benefit from this based upon this research. However, if you're pretty lean and you're trying to just lose those last few pounds, you're probably not going to benefit as much from this based on the mechanism of action, because you probably don't have an issue with controlling your blood sugar. Your issue might be better treated with maybe just a little bit lowering of calories, upping activity level, and then maybe if you want to take a fat burner with some stimulants, caffeine, green tea, things like that in there, that would be more effective for you because you don't have an issue with controlling your blood sugar. This, however, would be for those people who are overweight, pre-diabetic, or already type 2 diabetic. That's who's going to benefit the most. In terms of side effects, through all the research, beyond just the 5 that were done, there was no acute or long-term toxicity that was found, so it's perfectly safe. You can use it with other things, so let's just say you're one of those people that's in that population that has trouble regulating your blood sugar. You could also take it with a stimulant-based fat burner because there's no stimulants in there, assuming that you've been, you're otherwise healthy and you don't have any issues with taking caffeine or stimulants. You could, in fact, combine it with another fat burner. Other questions are, can I take it with my green coffee bean extract? Yes, you can. The mechanisms of action are similar in the sense that they both help you regulate blood sugar. This one's a little bit more unclear in terms of specifically what it does. We do know with green coffee bean extract that it does inhibit a specific enzyme, I believe it's glucose 6-phosphate, in terms of how carbohydrates absorb in your body. So, and that blunting effect that green coffee bean extract seems to have. And there's a bunch of other rodent model studies that are out there on the Moringa Oleifera. Again, it's kind of fun to say it. And they all showed, again, that it was safe. And in fact, one thing that did come out, I failed to mention this, was that it may protect the liver from being from chemically induced damage to the liver. It actually seems to have a protective effect. That's just a little aside. As far as when to take it, how much to take it, the company making it recommends that you take 2 400 milligram capsules. This is Genesis today. It's an 800 milligram capsule. Take 2 of those about 30 minutes prior to a meal. And you could probably do that twice a day. That's what they're recommending on there. So assuming probably your 2 biggest meals, the ones with carbohydrates, would be your best bet as to when to take those, because hence, you're trying to control blood sugar, take it about 30 minutes before. So I hope that answered all your guys' questions. If you have any, please post them in the comments section of the video of the blog. More than happy to answer them. Also check us out at facebook.com/bestpricenutrition.